Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Completionist playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Saga with SCS. Now, after the demise of Gromnir el-Khan, we're going to be able to venture outside of Saradush and continue our campaign to save the city by going on the offensive. But first we've got some level ups to do. Yaga-Shura is going to become a level 21 mage, and that's going to involve some nice improvements to her saving throws, as well as the first high-level ability that's going to give her access to a new spell, having finished obtaining all of the additional spell memorization slots earlier. And we're going to go for Summon Planetar, as this is going to fit her best, and this is also a very powerful and versatile spell that we're going to allow ourselves to use eventually. And we also have a level up to do on Saravok, who is going to become a level 20 fighter, and that means his first ever high level ability in general. And we're going to go with Hardiness. This is going to be our bread and butter on our fighters, especially on Saravok, as this is his primary means of defense, getting that 40% physical damage mitigation. And in general, when it comes to going about Saravok's high-level abilities, the most natural and intuitive course of action would be to just keep giving him some more hardiness and also go the path to greater whirlwind attack and give him some uses of that, because he as a two-handed weapon wielder can only go up to 6 attacks per round with improved haste, whereas this gives him 10. However, of course, improved haste also lasts for a much longer duration and also doubles his movement speed, while this only gives him 10 attacks for 1 round, enabling him to unleash some burst damage with his two-handed weapon. And this is still, of course, a great ability, and we're definitely going to pick some uses of that in the future. But also, in this playthrough, I'm going to do something kind of suboptimal on Saravok. In favor of upholding his role-playing theme as a Deathbringer, we're going to give him Death Blow and Greater Death Blow later on, and we're going to have some fun with these abilities at a later stage in the expansion. We're basically going to indulge in his theme of being able to instantly kill opponents. But anyway, now we can take our last stroll through the streets of Saradush, because there are going to be a few people who are going to acknowledge our triumph over Gromnir, especially this lady here who asked us to kill him. And now apparently everyone's talking about it. She's going to be grateful. We're going to receive a whole 1,000 of personalized experience. And also these commoners, these peasants, they are going to have some different things to say now. Of course, saying that it's not the end of their troubles yet, and because Saradush is still a big sanctuary for the Bhaal spawn, it's still under siege, so we have to continue in our efforts to save it for good. And also Pirgam Ailson here in the tankard tree is going to say something to that effect. That of course the inhabitants of Saradush are still in peril until the threat of Yaga-Shura is dealt with. But anyway, for us, this is the end of our adventures in Saradush. And we're going to be able to, the tankard tree, I guess, upset some of these people, because we are going to use our pocket plane transportation ability. And much like Vikang was able to successfully teleport himself outside of Saradush, despite these magical protections preventing mages to teleport outside, so we will be able to successfully transport ourselves to our pocket plane. So yeah, it's time to leave this hellhole now. So people of Saradush, want to see something that will freak you out? Boom. See you, scrub lords. And this also is going to give me an opportunity to talk about this ability a little bit, because in Throne of Bhaal, basically we are going to be always able to rest safely, because we can use this ability at will, provided that we are not in combat. So whenever we're going through a dungeon or through some other place that would be dangerous to rest at, or if we are in a place that prevents resting altogether, we are always going to be able to just quickly teleport to our pocket plane, rest here and go back. But I'm going to limit that kind of thing. We're still going to try to rest outside as well. But anyway, since we are here, let's upgrade Phobane.
Cool bastard sword! Oh yes! Why bastard, you think? No parent?
So because we've obtained Flar's Scabbard in the dungeons of Gromnir's castle, we can now upgrade Phobane to one of the best weapons in the game. Unfortunately, not for us, we don't really have a great person to use it. But anyway, it gets upgraded to a +5 enchantment, it gives a bonus to saving throws, and it casts Larlock's Minor Drain on hit, so essentially 4 magical damage on each hit, while of course retaining the damage bonuses to certain types of creatures. Very nice item. And also we're going to prepare a little something here already before we proceed. We're going to use an all of speed on Kirinai. We don't have any more hastes on Imoen after I reworked our spells, and we're not going to rest for a while yet. And also we're going to give Kirinai our Skull of Death. Alright, and now we're going to wait a couple of seconds so that she can cast that immediately. And now, while we attempt to exit our pocket plane, we are going to be able to specify to some degree where we want to go. So we are always going to be able to return where we came from. For now we can go directly to Saradush again, and we can of course go outside of Saradush and make our way to the Marching Mountains. So we're going to be dropped off in the wilderness somewhere on the way. And here we are going to immediately see Yaga-Shura's army trying to kill some merchants. And we're going to attempt to just go far in there with Kirinai. And there are going to be these merchants. And now these ones are most likely going to die. It's very difficult to save them unless you're lucky with the opponents messing up their rolls or you hitting your rolls very nicely, or kind of, you know, if you go out of your way to prepare some tricks to save them. But this one is a little bit tougher. He actually attempts to fight back, and I think he can take a hit or two, whereas these guys basically just die in one hit. There's also further back Karth's al-Hezzar, which is a merchant that they never attack. He is supposed to survive, and you're supposed to have, you know, quote-unquote rescued him. And he is going to be our go-to merchant in Throne of Bhaal, but more on him later. Basically, we are going to try to at least save this guy. There's nothing that really comes out of it. I just want to showcase it because it's pretty rare to rescue any one of these guys. And with the rest of our guys, we're just going to kind of barge in there and try to kill others with our damage. And basically, also a thing about this death spell that we have just unleashed, this is going to be successful because most of these soldiers are only level 5. There are going to be some officers among them, like this guy. They are level 10 and they are not going to die to death spell, but most of them are going to. Of course, some of them are going to be out of range, but the immediate threat to these merchants should be dealt with. He is already injured, but yeah, now they all die, and now we just have to be careful to not waste this opportunity and kind of showcase in the playthrough how they can be saved.
What is it?
Now who do we have here? This guy. That guy actually did die somewhere, but the most unlikely ones to survive actually are holding strong. So let's try to like not allow this archer to operate freely. Yeah, so it worked out quite differently than I intended, but still we actually managed to rescue both of those guys, and they don't really have much to say. Yeah, they will thank us for our aid. Karthis over there, actually, now that the fight is done, would approach us and initiate a conversation automatically, but I'm going to purposefully stay out of his vision and not trigger that yet, because the conversation with him involves getting a +1 reputation bonus, and we are actually going to lose some reputation very soon, because there was a request in the comments asking me to showcase more of the Slayer form, and that of course, transforming into the Slayer, of course, carries with itself a -2 reputation penalty. So we are first going to do that, and then we're going to come back to Karthis and get that +1 reputation, and then we're going to get the last point a little bit later. So anyway, here there's not much that these guys have, but the officer actually has a magical weapon and some potions. Yeah, there it is. So I'm just going to scavenge that and not bother with anything else really. And yeah, we're going to be back to speak to Karthis later. And here in this area in general, we're going to be kind of exposed to the idea that we can basically take on whole armies effortlessly and deal with them. Because when Volo told us that we were among the most powerful mortals to ever have walked Faerun, and this was not meant to be an exaggeration. This is the case. We have now progressed so far, we have become so powerful that we can basically dispose of whole armies easily. And there's going to be one more area like that a little bit later on that it showcases that notion or confirms it even more. Anyway, here we're going to meet some fire giants. In SCS, they are all berserkers, so they are going to immediately enrage. They also have access to some more high-level abilities, so they can, for example, use whirlwind attack and dish out an enormous amount of damage. So we're going to see how this goes. But anyway, since they are berserkers, of course, that makes some of the strategies from the vanilla game to deal with them, like using hold monster on them, for example, not viable anymore because their berserker rage, of course, protects them from hold. And they also, the vast majority of them use crushing damage weapons. So stuff like Roranok's Horn is going to be very nice in decreasing their damage output. But there are some exceptions in the game here and there that actually deal slashing damage, but the majority of them are supposed to be wielding warhammers. So anyway, let's just go and deal with them. They're also always going to drop some gems that we're interested in for crafting. They're always going to drop these star sapphires and some pretty decent random loot here, like the scrolls. And we are going to stash these star sapphires separately because we need them for crafting. Alright, and when it comes to these soldiers, you know, we are going to just deal with them handily. There's no additional tactics or finesse required. They are going to just die very easily. There's going to be many more of them. Also, there's going to be a mage here, so let's actually have Senashira here and present him with some remove magic. That should be very likely to work because he is only level 16. So there we go. He actually has some stuff. Alright, so let's engage in some further slaughter. There's going to be some more fire giants though, so we're going to have to be slightly cautious about that. And there are going to be like 2 clerics of Talos, but they are also very low level at this point. They're only level 10. So they're not going to present a grave danger for us. And actually, here with Imon we can throw him a little glitter dust. Because, of course, the fire giants having that berserker enrage means that they are immune to vast majority of debilitating effects, but not too blind and not too slow, so we can still do something to them. And now this guy activated a whirlwind attack. And also for them, it also confers a speed boost, so that they can make a better use of that, I guess. Gives them a little help in reaching their targets. But yeah, just whenever they use that, I'm going to be slightly cautious because they can unleash some big damage. Of course, Senashira still has her stone skins, so she didn't really feel that attack too much. But later on, basically, when we're going to go to the Marching Mountains, we're going to experience the might of the fire giants a little bit more. Just look at Animan's health dropping. Just like that. Right, anyway. Now we should be set.
Point the sword, and I shall strike.
Yes. This will not take long.
Right, there were some officers among them. And I'm even going to pick up this scroll. Alright, let us proceed. Just do some final cleanup here. There's a cleric up there. Weren't able to interrupt her. And there should be another one over here. And they actually have some good potions. Alright, and basically we're done with this area. Nice looking outdoors foresty area. And now that we have gone through it, we're going to be able to unlock some other areas on this map of Tether now in Throne of Bhaal. This is our first look on the world map now. And basically, we have Watcher's Keep available to us now, and this is a decent point to go back to Watcher's Keep, both gameplay and role-playing wise, but I think we're going to wait with it a little bit more, because there's an even better point, I think, role-playing wise at least, a little bit later in the expansion, where the main storyline kind of slows down a little bit, and we're going to have, you know, an opportunity to kind of just explore different places and include Watcher's Keep in that. Also, we have the Forest of Mir as one location that was mentioned to us, and the Marching Mountains, where the fire giants reside. And if we had talked to Karthus, he would have actually informed us about some stuff being present in that Forest of Mir. Apparently a ruined Temple of Bhaal. But we're going to have to discuss that with him a little bit later, once we come back. And yeah, in this foreboding swamp, there is going to be some remnants of a Bhaal temple. And we are going to prepare before going forward a little bit, because we're going to do 2 encounters in quick succession, and we're basically going to pre-buff for the second one, more so than the upcoming encounter. Let's actually level up Kirinai. And I think I'm going to give her second use of Avoid Death, second and last, and basically until the end of the game we're just going to be picking up more traps for her, I guess, from this point on. Anyway, this upcoming encounter is going to be very heavily based upon level drain, and we're going to prepare a little bit for that. We're going to give the Amulet of Power to Jaheira, so she is going to be immune to level drain through that. Anomen has his trusty improved Mace of Disruption. Kirinai has the uses of Avoid Death, that also confer immunity to level drain. Imoen is going to get improved Mantle specifically, and she might want to cast that from a scroll. We might just kite with her and kind of escape the threat of the opponents, and for Saravak we're going to give him protection from undead. And of course, as you know from Shadows of Amn, I don't usually use this scroll because it's kind of like a cheat code against undead, but this is a relatively minor encounter. We're not really giving ourselves that big of an advantage. We're only using it basically because I don't want to rest and memorize any like negative plane protection or anything like that. So Saravak is going to buff himself with protection from undead, and these undead level draining creatures are just not going to be able to see him and target him, so he's going to be safe from that. Alright, and we're also going to just do some regular buffs. We're going to have to renew some stuff on our characters. Oh, and of course I didn't mention Sinashira there when talking about protection from level drain, and she is going to use something else entirely. She's going to showcase us that Slayer form and be immune to level drain through that. I didn't want to misclick on stealth with you, Imoen. Not that you are not successful with that. Oh, and of course, a very important thing, we need to set up this spell trigger on Imoen, and that actually gives me an opportunity to talk about a certain element of spell trigger. I think a mistake that some people might commit, I guess, when using the spell. I consider it a mistake. Just with spell trigger, because it's such a rare and powerful spell, it's level 8 and gives us the opportunity to put into it spells of level 5 and even level 6. It's very easily to get stuck on the idea that you have to put some of these high level spells into it in order not to, like, quote unquote waste it. But you know, while this is a notion that's very easy to be caught on, you know, spell trigger does not have to contain such high-level spells if it's not in your best interest. So even if you put lower-level spells into it, it's still a way to instantly unleash 3 spells at the same time, even if they are lower level, and it still gives you the flexibility of having a different set of spells here, and a different set of spells on your spell sequencer, and a different set altogether on your minor sequencer. So still, if it's, you know, not going to benefit you, my piece of advice here, my take on the whole idea, is to just, you know, not be afraid to put lower level spells into it, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to likely have a need for some single target anti-magic spells coming from Imoen, so we're going to put 2 secret words and spell thrust into it. And because she already has a spell sequencer with triple remove magic prepared, and this just gives her more options to unleash instantly. We're also going to give her spell immunity to abjuration, and I think we're going to do the same on Senashira.
I shall go forth at your
We also
command.
might cast some Armors of Faith. And I think we are good to go. This is also going to be a very notable role-playing segment,
I'm listening.
so let's take a look.
Halt. Go no farther. I wish to speak with you, my old ward.
Gorion?
Yes, Gorion. Have you forgotten all that I taught you, brought you up to be? Have you forgotten me?
What do you mean? What have I done?
I tried to save you from your destiny. I tried to turn you into a force for good. And what have you done? Carved a path of blood and murder wherever you go.
You are a disappointment. You were supposed to be so much more, Senashira. You were supposed to be something greater, and yet in the end, you murdered even me. Why are you saying these things? I never murdered you. A lie. You do not see the truth, and you shall be made to.
I saved you. I hid you from those who would hunt you. I taught you and enabled you to become what you are. I died for you.
And you have failed me in everything I hoped you would be. This is why I am murdered by you. You think this animal, Saravok, is responsible for my death? I expect no better from him. He is a slave to ambition, and yet you resurrect him and hail him as comrade. Beware, old man. You were in my way once. Do not tempt me a second time. And Imoen, my second hope. You have turned her into a conspirator to your own failure. All her potential lost. How both of you disgust me so. No, Gorion, don't say those things, please. Where have you come to, my ward? What have you done? So many bodies left in your wake, so much pain and destruction that you have caused. Why? I have killed only when necessary, to defend myself or others. Then you know nothing of yourself. You have learned nothing. You grow ever closer to being a slave of your blood. You will murder all that you love and die a monster. I will not allow it.
How many more must come to grief before you see I am correct? How many must die? What of your many former companions? How many are dead now because of you? I will not allow you to be the one who causes the prophecy to become true. I won't allow it. I will see you dead first.
Refuse!
You will not be the one who causes the prophecy to come true, my ward. Bow before me and renounce your life.
No. I refuse to believe that Gorion would cause this much pain.
You resist me? Oh, very cunning. It shall be a pleasure to feast upon your godchild soul.
And I love the way he says that last part. Anyway, this is of course not the real form of Gorion. This is going to be a Master Wraith, a creature that apparently has the ability to reach deep inside your soul and read your minds, and usually refer to thoughts, very troubling, and events from the past that were traumatic, and try to get into your head through those means. And this is a much more involved interaction if you are in a romance, because this Master Wraith is also going to speak at length about your loved one. So for when it comes to Jaheira, for example, he is going to summon Khalid, or supposedly, a spirit of Khalid, who is then going to accuse Jaheira of forgetting him so easily and so quickly and engaging in a romance with us. When it comes to Eri, he is going to summon her mother, who apparently died from grief when Eri didn't come back, and she is going to blame Eri for so recklessly trying to help that one child and getting herself captured. Then when it comes to Viconia, he is going to summon Valas, her brother, who sacrificed himself so that Viconia could escape the Underdark. And of course this would be much of the same kind of interaction with Valas blaming Viconia for everything that happened to him being turned into a Drider and whatnot. And finally, when it comes to Anemen, his little sister Moira, who was murdered, would appear and blame him for all that has happened, for him abandoning home and leaving her alone with their drunkard father and whatnot. So anyway, for us, since we are not in a romance, this is going to be it. And he's going to summon a lot of these level draining creatures. And basically, while we specifically went for Improved Mantle, is because they are a little tricky to protect yourself because of their different types of attacks. Because the Vampiric Wraiths, they level drain and their attack is considered non-magical, whereas the Devil Shades actually have a magical +4 enchanted attack. So if you want to protect yourself against both in one spell, in one go, then Improved Mantle, or Absolute Immunity, I guess, is the way to go, because if you protect yourself just with protection from magical weapons, the Vampiric Wraiths are going to be able to connect with their hits and level drain. Also, they are a little bit more problematic than usual, because they are sped up in this encounter, they're kind of hasted, and as usual, they can actually go invisible. So even if you, if we escape with Imoen, if we try to keep her out of this encounter, they can still, it's still easy to lose track of one of them, and they, while invisible, can just go to your character that you kept out of the encounter and still level drain them. So we'll see what's going to happen here. So there are the Devil Shades, Vampiric Wraiths, and Swamp Horrors. The Swamp Horrors don't level drain, but they can cast Chaos. And actually for that reason, because I think we want to stay in melee, we don't want to really... run out once they start that animation for that chaos that is targeted on themselves. I think we're going to give some Potions of Clarity to Jaheira, to Anemen, and to Saravok, so that they can be protected against that. Kiranai is going to activate her Avoid Death to be safe from the level drain. Imoen is just going to run away, and Sinashira is going to activate her Slayer transform ability. The Master Wraith, by the way, has a Fire Shield and protection from magical weapons, so I think we are going to breach him in a second with Imoen. But anyway, let's engage in this and focus fire our attacks a little bit in the meantime. In the depths of your being stirs a familiar evil, reaching out of the darkness. It offers power for a price. Do you accept and sacrifice part of yourself? So we will choose to become the Slayer here. And while being the Slayer, we are going to be immune to level drain. And also, this is a pretty cool opportunity to talk a little bit about this transformation, because in Ascension, it gets upgraded a couple of times. Once you exceed 2 million experience, 4 million, and then 6 million, it receives upgrades. And then eventually you can transform into even the Ravager. And of course you can take a look at our stats, our Thaco, damage, hit points, armor class. We're also going to get some nice resistances. So of course those are the upsides, but the downside is that the more powerful the form is, the harder it is to control. So it is more likely that we are going to lose control over Sinashira. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to use it for a little bit, because also the downside of this form is that you cannot stay in it for too long, because you start receiving damage and start losing control, and then eventually you just outright die, even if you can out-heal or protect yourself against the damage. So I will use it for this encounter, but I think we're going to shift out of it once this is done. Right, we're going to breach the Master Wraith so that we can get to him. And yeah, let's engage in combat with Sinashira as well. Right, there's a Swamp Horror coming to Imoen, that does not matter. Right, now we can move out of there, and I guess Sinashira herself is going to personally take care of that Master Wraith. Here, let's just get rid of these Vampiric Wraiths. This one is badly injured.
Ready and willing? No problem at all. I am ready. Something you can count on me.
Alright, I think we're pretty successful in completing this fight pretty smoothly. And yeah, I'm going to shift out of it, because There is a certain bug with Ascension Slayer form that I have a fix for, but this fix makes it unable to kind of gauge how far you are into that damage dealing process. Because the bug is that even if you shift out of this form, you continue taking damage and you die shortly after. But the fix remedies that, but you, like, as a downside of it, you actually don't take the damage while inside the form. You just kind of die abruptly if you stay in it too long. So anyway, we have seen the power of the Slayer here that we could transform into. Of course, that brought us our reputation down by 2 points, which we are going to be able to get back pretty quickly. And yeah, that's it for now when it comes to the Slayer change. We're not able to see the loss of control on Senashira, but that's okay. Now when it comes to that other encounter, we are going to pre-buff a little bit more. I think we're going to change the equipment of Senashira, sorry, not Senashira, Jaheira and Anamen, I think. We are going to give Jaheira the red dragon armor. And also I think we might give this Sword of Arvorine to Kirinai, because she might have need for it. Anyway, for Jaheira, we are going to give her this red dragon scale, and that plus the ring gives her total immunity to fire. And Anamen is going to at least equip this helmet. Now that, you know, we are in Throne of Bhaal, this +1 armor class coming from the Helm of the Noble is not really doing him much good. And we are going to be able to just give him the Ring of Fire Protection and the Gift of Peace, the Helm of Defense, for some nice resistances in general, and just a saving throws boost on a regular basis. So we're just going to stay with that, I think. And we basically protect these people because I think it's very likely that we're going to have to tank through some massive fire damage amounts. And you have all your buffs. I think we actually have one chaotic commands coming from Jaheira, and I think we're going to give it to Anamen just to make him immune to stun.
Yes?
And that might be helpful. And we're also going to want to enter this fight with some true seeing going on. Alright, and now we should be ready. I think this is going to be it. So yeah, now we are approaching those ominous ruins of the Bhaal Temple. Let's see what lies ahead. So Karthus, if we had spoken to him, he would have said that after Bhaal died, his worshippers here died as well and became undead spirits guarding the place. So here they are. The skeleton cleric speaks to us. It is the Master. The Master come again. No, hold. No, it is but a vessel for the Master's power, an abomination. Kill it. Kill them all in the name of Bhaal. So of course they can sense the Bhaal spawn blood in us, and in Imoen, I guess. And here we're going to have this skeleton cleric. He's a level 25 cleric, and he should have some powerful pre-buffs. Likely he's going to have the aura of flaming death. That's why we are protected against fire, because we are just going to have to hit him through it, I guess, and resist the returned damage. There's also the skeleton mage. He is level 20, and he has access to high-level abilities, and he usually actually tends to get the damage-dealing ones, so he can have Comet or Dragon Breath at his disposal as well. And there's also an invisible skeleton assassin who is a level 24 assassin who can backstab for ×7 and can poison weapon and whatnot. So and also these two skeleton warriors. But anyway, let's see what their pre-buffs are. Let's try to spread out a little bit, and we'll see what we're going to have to, or how we're going to have to react to what they can offer. Alright, the mage has immunity to abjuration, unfortunately, and has spell shield and spell turning and globe of invulnerability, so we're going to have to dispel him manually and then throw in that Imoen's spell trigger. And yeah, the cleric is going to have aura of flaming death, regeneration. Anyway, with Senashira, I think we can attempt to throw in her triple remove magic to dispel the pre-buffs on the cleric. Although, actually, see, this is the issue with only having two mages now that Edwin is gone. Actually, I think we have to wait with Senashira until the mage's illusions are dispelled, so we can target him, dispel him dispel his spell shield with Senashira, and then have Imoen ready to unleash her spell trigger. So I think we cannot afford to throw in that sequencer, but maybe Anomen can actually offer him a little dispel magic. Perhaps that's going to deal some good. He's likely to have physical mirror once his pre-buffs trigger fully. Yeah, so we're not going to be able to interrupt him from afar. And that's that skeleton assassin here. I guess since we have an opportunity here, let's try to attack him, but he's just going to keep going invisible and trying to backstab, so I think we're not going to be able to deal too much damage to him. And just in the meantime, we can just attack whoever is close. Alright, there was a remove magic, I think, on us. Alright, his illusions are dispelled already. That's very, very, very good. Or perhaps that was just... yeah, there was a remove magic on Jaheira. That was somewhat successful on us. But that's not really that big of a deal. Now that we have this guy available, we are going to have to use this Ruby Ray on him to dispel his spell shield. Right, the dispel magic was not successful on that cleric. Anyway, I think we should probably move on. Let me just see if we were able to deal with that assassin. Alright, he just died. That's very good. We're going to then move on to fight this cleric in melee with Jaheira and Anomen. And I guess Kira and I can just take care of the skeleton warrior for now. Alright, we have our stuff flying at the mage. Spell shield has been dispelled. Now we can unleash our spell trigger. And we are going to be able to breach him soon. Alright, and now we're back. I think I'm going to cut that interruption out of the recording. But anyway, we're here attacking that skeleton cleric who is barely injured. The skeleton assassin died. I think we just unleashed our spell trigger with Imoen, so we should be able to get to this skeleton mage very soon. I'm just going to keep attacking with Senashira for a little bit, so for the rest of her round, basically. And in a second we're going to breach that skeleton mage, and we should be able to get to him. There's a fallen planetar upon us, so we are going to activate Avoid Death on Kirnai to avoid the instant death coming from her attacks. And she is over there. Imoen is going to have to... Actually, you can stay, just make yourself immune to magical weapons. But Kirnai just has to run away, because she cannot use her Avoid Death just yet, because I think she healed a little earlier. And getting to this skeleton cleric is a little problematic here in melee. He stands in such a spot that I think Jaheira and Anomen sometimes get kind of transported a little bit further away from him and can't really connect with all of their attacks that well. But anyway, the breach is underway. Oh, the the skeleton mage still has his spell immunity to abjuration, it seems. It seems like we were not able to fully dispel his magical protections. He still has one. And I guess we are going to use Ruby Ray and continue that strategy on him. And in the meantime... Okay, we just have to evacuate everybody. Anomen is going to quickly cast Death Ward onto himself, so that we can have another person protected. Kirnai has Avoid Death now active as well, but her health is not doing that great. Jaheira is going to have to evacuate. Well, this traffic gen permits her to do so. Right, do you have your... Oh. His spell failed because of unholy word that this cleric used, which confers a 50% spell failure effect because, as you can see, Anomen is affected by deafness, which is a 50% spell failure debuff, and he actually failed to apply that death ward. I think in the meantime, before we can actually act again, let's just try to at least kill this guy. Right, and there's an insect plague coming onto Senashira, which is just a terrible prospect. We're going to have to keep her away. That means that she's not really going to be able to cast any spells very soon. Right, the Fallen Planetar is injured. The Skeleton Cleric with his regeneration just can regen a lot of hit points very quickly. Alright, Imoen is still preparing to cast Ruby Ray. Can you heal already? You cannot yet. We're going to have to try in a second to apply another Death Ward with Anomen, so that we can have another person who is safe to engage the Planetar. Yeah, you heal and go back. Now with Senashira, basically, we can kite this insect plague. I don't want to be, that hardcore about it, though. We can unleash one spell before that insect plague reaches her. So perhaps I should go for a secret word, but Imoen is already casting. That might have been an opportunity a couple of seconds ago. I could have cast secret word to dispel spell immunity abjuration off of the skeleton mage, and then we would be able to cast breach very soon with Imoen. So I think we're just going to keep running from this insect plague with Senashira and cast breach from a scroll on her once this Ruby Ray hits. And now we just have to kind of spread out from this Planetar. Alright, now this Death Ward was successful on Anomen. Let's actually switch to the Flail of Ages when trying to fight the Planetar, and just let's keep running with Jaheira. Alright, there's a remove magic coming at Sir Anomen that might dispel his Death Ward. Okay, Ruby Ray was cast, so I think we will be able to quickly cast the breach from a scroll and get that going on Senashira. Let's actually move closer with Imoen, because I'm not sure if this Skeleton's Mage contingency triggered, and they usually at this point in the game have a contingency triggering a protection from magical weapons once you are close to them, so let's actually try to trigger that. Right, Fallen Planetar is just injured. I think we need to get Kirnai out of there. And try to heal in a second. Alright, this contingency did trigger. Okay, very good job, Imoen. Alright, our breach was successful, so we can go and, with people who are not busy fighting the Planetar, because they can't, we can actually engage the mage and get rid of that gigantic nuisance. Alright, cool. Now a big win has just occurred for us in this fight. Also, well, Anomen is under heavy attack here. The Planetar is heavily injured. I think we can actually engage it from afar with Kirnai. She won't be able to stand toe-to-toe with that Planetar for much longer. We can heal with Anomen. I think instead of trying to... I was basically thinking about perhaps casting one Death Ward on someone else, on Jaheira, for example, but he is under such heavy attack that this spell would have been surely interrupted by the Planetar, so let's just keep fighting with him and healing. And what we could do... Oh, of course, Senashira can't really do much. So yeah, we can't really risk anyone else over there. So let's try and tank through some damage with Saravok as well. Like, you have full health, able to take some fire damage from this guy. Especially since you have some resistances, Saravok. Alright, the Fallen Planetar, of course, healed itself, or herself, instantly with a heal. So that's not good. I think what we're going to have to do is perhaps Not perhaps, because we have we have used all that. Although we do have a very short improved haste coming from the bracers of Blinding Strike, if I can find them. Alright, so haste yourself there, Kernai. You're not going to need to keep your rounds open for healing while staying at a distance. So here she can have, for a little bit, for a short while, she can have some more attacks to throw some more daggers at this Planetar. Now with Imoen, we won't really be able to do much here, considering the magic resistance of the Planetar. This Skeleton Cleric has such great resistances here against slashing damage, and he probably has Armor of Faith, that even Servok's crit here did 9 damage. Was enough to interrupt him though, so that's good.
What is it now?
Alright, we should be able to... Let me just quickly check. Alright, Death Word is still in there. Was that heal number 2? You little bastard. But anyway, we're doing fine. We're doing fine for now.
What is it?
I wanted to have Senashira add some damage onto that cleric, but that's not no longer necessary. Animan is getting really destroyed here. Alright, cool. I was just debating whether we should actually switch to ranged weapons, give ourselves +3 ammo and go through all that trouble. But fortunately, we are done. We are done already, we made it. Because of how, like, unprepared we went in without, you know, many buffs, this fight was way tougher than it had any right to be, but I think it was cool. It was interesting, at least. We get some more poisoned throne daggers from that skeleton mage, which is very nice. That was the skeleton assassin, and I think there was... Right, the skeleton warrior, I guess one of them... Oh, of course, she is blinded, that's why.
That item has been dropped.
Wanted to loot his two-handed sword, +2 there. The Sword of Arvarine was not necessary. I was basically thinking that perhaps if the Skeleton Mage started out with Symbol Stun, as they sometimes do now, as part of their chain contingency kind of pre-buff, then if we needed to go with Kiranai into melee, then she would probably have to equip the Sword of Arvarine in her offhand, because that sword protects against being stunned. Anyway, let's actually be thorough. Let's loot some stuff. There's a very important nymph steer in there. Alright, and I know that we are over time, but we can't just, you know, explore this much of the temple ruins and not go upstairs and see what awaits us over there. So, let's go.
You have come you have. The powerful one who is the spawn of the dead master. Nyalee knew you would come, she did.
So yeah, of course, some of these questions that we can ask here are pretty silly, about like, who is that dead master? Who could you possibly be referring to? Or like, obviously she is Nyalee, so perhaps let's ask, how does someone live here amidst all these creatures? Nyalee survives very well, she does, and Nyalee is I, the Witch of the Glade, they calls me. But so many questions you have. Answer all your questions, Nyalee will. Oh yes, Nyalee has been waiting for you, and she knows why you come, she does. It is the boy, that traitorous fool of a half-giant boy of mine. You come because of Yaga-Shura. My boy has been a pain for you and me both, and you wish his blood, yes? And here, of course, we're going to have to ask her how to get rid of Yaga-Shura's invulnerability, but before that we can ask her some other questions. What do you mean, boy of mine? Yaga-Shura can't be your son. Nay, the boy did not spring from Nyalee's loins. Nyalee did see him for the spawn child he was while but a babe, and stole him from the crib, raise him here in this temple as her own did she. Why would you wish revenge on your own son, then? Because a betrayer is the boy. Did Nyalee not raise the boy? Did Nyalee not teach the boy the old tricks, yes? And the boy did leave Nyalee here to rot, steals her heart even. How do I know I can even trust you? Because have's a common enemy, does we. Nyalee would kills her boy, oh yes, but Nyalee can nothing do without her heart, so Nyalee needs you, spawn child. Then tell me how to kill him. That Nyalee will do. That the traitorous boy will not even see it coming, oh no. Nyalee will have her revenge. Listen closely then, spawn child. Once a great cleric of Bhaal was Nyalee, but then great Bhaal is dead, and Nyalee is forced to turn to the older arts to survive. Nyalee steals the spawn child Yaga-Shura to raise in this temple, did she? A new lord of murder did Nyalee hope to create. Foolish old Nyalee. Teaches the boy the old tricks, did she? Teaches the boy to remove his heart, did she? The boy has removed his heart, and he will keep it afire and bathed in magical flames. While his heart burns, no harm may come to Yaga-Shura. No death may come until his heart is quenched. So I must find his heart and quench it. How? Only Nyalee knows the words and the arts to extinguish the boy's heart, she does. But Nyalee needs her own heart to use the arts, and the boy stole her heart years ago. Keeps it, he does. Finds Nyalee's heart and Yaga-Shura's heart both, spawn child. Brings them both to her. Nyalee will quench his heart forever then. So surprised, so shocked will he be. Alright, so where? The boy has collected followers. Live with them in the Fire Mountains he will. Nyalee knows not where. He will keep her poor heart there, in hiding. His as well, Nyalee is sure. Alright, so, very well. I shall seek out these hearts and return. Yes, Nyalee will have her revenge, oh yes. Go, spawn child. Go and find Nyalee's poor heart. Bring me the boys as well. Nyalee cannot wait. So yeah, of course, through magical means, Yaga-Shura has removed Nyalee's heart and his own, and that is how he is able to keep his invincibility and his insane regeneration, I guess, in the face of all of these attacks that the forces of Saradush tried to attack him with. But anyway, now that we have explored this Temple of Bhaal in the Forest of Mir, this is going to be an appropriate end for this episode. I hope you enjoyed our fights we had this time. As always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.